Are there fantasies, niches you feel are underexplored or interesting in terms of supports that you'd like to see in the game? This one's a funny one. And you're going to be like, August is a sellout. I think we should make a hot male enchanter. like very specifically, like, I want an enchanter, because we have hot male supports. We have characters like Rakan, right? But like, I want an enchanter who's a hot dude. And I think a lot of enchanter players would love that aspect. And someone says Taric. Taric is a melee champ. He is not an enchanter. I don't care what you say. He is not an enchanter. He is a weird enchanter melee fighter hybrid. This is also why Rakan doesn't qualify. Rakan does some enchantery like things, but he's also like melee. I'm talking about a ranged enchanter support who's a hot dude. Maybe a guy with glasses. Who is it? Have you guys ever watched Bungo Stray Dogs? This guy? Kunikita? Like, imagine that was an enchanter you could play. Feel like that would be a pretty sweet character archetype in that role. I think a lot of people would love a character archetype like this in the enchanter space. I feel like it would be super, super fun. And some people are like talking about Hwei, and it's like, yeah, Hwei can go bot, but he's not really an enchanter. He's more like a mage. Like, yeah, he's a cool support, and like a lot of people like playing him as support, so that's awesome. I think Hwei like fits really well down there. But like specifically, like, I don't think we have like the cool guy enchanter. And I think a lot of people who play enchanters would actually really love that thematic. Other archetypes I think we're missing. I think League doesn't really have a paladin. And again, people are going to be like Taric Erasure. But like, Taric is like kind of a paladin, but not really. Also, I don't think a paladin is supposed to be a support. I think paladins actually, like, to really achieve the paladin thematic and feeling, need to actually be solo laners. Like, they need to be like someone who fights and protects their team, as opposed to someone who is primarily about supporting. And you might be like, what about Garen? He's a paladin. Paladins need to be able to help their teammates. Garen is cool guy with some magic and a sword, that's for sure. But like, if a paladin doesn't have a heal, is it really a paladin? That's kind of my opinion on that. Is like, there's definitely a lot of like paladin-like characters in the game, but I just don't know if we have like a full-on paladin. Someone said like Leona, and it's like, Leona's kind of like a paladin, but again, she doesn't help her teammates. Like, I think a paladin, like a big core fantasy of the paladin is like, I got my heavy weapon, I got my heavy armor, and I also got light magic, right? Like Omni Knight in Dota is a pretty good paladin, as an example. And then some people are like, what about Kayle? And Kayle is paladin adjacent, but she's an angel, which is a bit different than a paladin. But yeah, Kayle also has paladin vibes, but she's an angel. I think that would be cool though. Another character I've always wanted to make is like an uber greatsword user, which by the way, Aatrox is pretty close to. So we have a character like this, but like kind of like what is it? Greatsword small girl Genshin. The small girl part isn't important. I'm trying to see if I can find a video of it. So here, I'll show you this. I want to be clear that like the pitch I have is not the cute small character with the greatsword. But the pitch I have is a character who like is big, and then they have this greatsword that's 5 times as big as them, and they like use the weight of the greatsword to like in their fighting style. Like again, like an uber greatsword from like Dark Souls or whatnot. Aatrox is close to this, but I think he's more like a powerful demon fantasy than like someone who's like really going into like the weight and momentum of a greatsword specifically. And I'm using her because she's very small, and so the greatsword, when she uses it, like plays a momentum game. But I don't think like the pitch is not small character with big sword. The pitch is character with just giga giant massive sword that swings really slow and then like causes them to like need to consider the sword's momentum and how they move and things like that. Which I think Aatrox is close to, but again, I think he's still like very like his is not really about, his game is not really about the momentum of the sword, I think. So it's a bit different to me. But Aatrox is definitely part of this. And he's cool. Aatrox is awesome. Really, I think Jag did a really good rework on Aatrox over the long term. Yeah. That sounds like Tryndamere. Tryndamere could be this if he had a kit that was related to it at all. But Tryndamere, like, as he stands, is like a, you know, a very, like, crit-based attack speedy character. Yeah. Another thing I think we're missing, actually, ironically, is a sword and shield character. Leona has a sword and shield, but she doesn't really use the sword part of her sword and shield. And yeah, if you look at, like, there's just not really a standard sword and board fighter in League of Legends. Like, there really isn't. So, if you've managed to pick up anything from this conversation I'm having, the thing it really is like, there's a lot of things you could do in League. Sometimes people will come in and they'll be like, hey, you already have 160 champions. Are you gonna run out of ideas? I'm like, nah, man. There are so many cool archetypes that you can make characters around. So many out there. And League of Legends, despite the fact that it has 160 characters, despite the fact that it's been out forever, still has, I think, certain archetypes that it could hit, which would result in, like, really cool characters. So, yeah. Pantheon is Spear and Shield. Yeah, that's not Sword and Shield. Like, it's Spear and Shield. Very different. Legitimately, like, that's very different. Pantheon's a great character. Very cool. Love his Spear and Shield. Spear and Shield is fundamentally different than Sword and Shield. Just different. They aren't the same. Which is fine. Yeah.